two light and fast champions. It's the first time today that we're actually getting to see two lights go up against each other. RAISY will be running Anarchy, and it will be CNZ playing the Nyx. Now, I'm starting this off on RAISY's point of view. Let's see what he can do with that air control. Loving the aggression here off the bat. It's a pretty common move you see a lot in high-level play. Leaving up the Mega for starters and rushing towards that railgun to deny your opponent that key weapon. And now both players did manage to get a hold of the rail. And look at the delay. I don't think either player has any clue when the other's major item is up. Because RAISY didn't see CNZ pick it up. And neither did CNZ have any indication that RAISY hadn't already picked it up when they first met over towards the lightning gun. So I don't think either player knows exactly when those other majors are going to spawn. And RAISY, look, RAISY wanted to drop down, but he stayed on top because he didn't have an exact timing to work with. Now, good use of the injection into the railgun will help him get that first frag.
Yeah. You know, especially as Anarchy, you know, you really want to favor that heavy. You know, you have the capability to overheal yourself if need be, but not really too much to do with that armor. And especially, you know, as a light character too, it's super strong, super effective. And with beautiful rockets like that, you know, you're going to do a wonderful job at denying. Oh my god.
That's something you don't see every day, but CNZ, like a shark smelling blood in the water, using the ghost walk, sticking to RAISY's skin and chasing him down. Really good read. Figuring out exactly where his opponent is going to make a run for and tying it up 1-1. And those are the kinds of plays that you really have to admire RAISY for, right? How often do you see other players go for shots like that? Especially when you keep in mind that RAISY is playing a light champion, so a rocket jump deals a significant amount of damage, at least proportional to his overall stack, that he has to sacrifice just to commit in a situation like that. Crazy RAISY. Oh, okay. Using that injection to get that extra bit of health, that overstack, the speed boost, but it wasn't enough when CNZ lands two beautiful rails from a tricky position to work with as well. He probably couldn't see much more than RAISY's upper torso, and yet still, he made it work. Good plays from the Estonian.
Yeah, you know, that's something, you know, we see a lot with Nyx, that sort of thing where, you know, you can overcommit knowing you have that item, and, knowing you have that ghost walk up, and kind of going for things that are a little bit aggressive, a little bit rash in some players' opinions. You know, knowing that you have the ability to back out, knowing that you have the ability to basically be like, I can be okay. And that's super strong, and that's really one of the reasons that Nyx is, you know, so powerful, especially in the light on light matchups, is, you know, because there's super light stacks on both sides of the board, you know, CNZ can do something super aggressive and then just get out of jail arguably for free. You know, obviously it's like a 50-50 check, but still, that's a pretty good odds, especially as a Nyx player. And, you know, you can take things that aren't, you know, 100% aggressive, something like that, where he's dropping down, he's going for that extra rail, and he's getting all of that damage. And, you know, might convert into a kill, but still super strong.
78% railgun accuracy by CNZ. 11 shots connected out of the 14 he fired. That is nuts, especially when you consider that he's firing at an Anarchy, a very fast, relatively small target. But RAISY somehow stems the tide. And now both players are eyeing that mega health. CNZ tries to get onto it first. Didn't have the Ghost Hawk at the ready, didn't have armor to work with in that situation, and that really allowed RAISY to get the leg up.
Yep. Quick lower bracket update. Zanaku 2-0'd Saigib. So Saigib will be the first to fall, as Zanaku will be going on to play the loser of base and Nostra.
Okay. CNZ now sacrificing a few points right there. Oh, this is painfully similar to a previous mega rotation. This time CNZ did get a hold of the mega, but will it amount to much? RAISY completely just giving up on the machine gun, wants to soften his opponent up first before going for the killing blow. Oh, floated. We saw that happen earlier as well. Corrupted keep. Then it was Zanaku who was on the receiving end of the float. Now it's CNZ who should go down once more. RAISY knows that his stack advantage in that situation is just too much for his opponent to bear. And now we even get RAISY denying those small armors as well.
DNZ playing woefully aggressive, knowing he has that Ghost Walk up, and, you know, just go 4 for 4 if it works, you know? Getting CNZ another kill and maybe a second as RAISY is incredibly low, and CNZ will connect. Wonderful, wonderful shots from him as he's, you know, going to be able to swing around and secure himself that Mega off that. RAISY falling back, you know, getting Rail, getting all these weapons to attempt to defend this heavy, or maybe just swing around and play nice and safe.
I'm a little worried for CNZ, not just because he's 3 frags behind, but because I feel like his initial success on this map pretty much was the direct result of him hitting 78% railgun, right?
Yeah.
The moment that that stops, and I think, you know, it is going to stop, it's a matter of when rather than if, then everything kind of starts falling apart, and RAISY, who has been laying down more of a consistent, fundamental game in this map, is going to shine more. So CNZ, to sustain this playstyle and this level of aggression, he needs to continue landing rails at the same rate, and that is borderline impossible to do. And RAISY knows this, and that is why he is so confident. RAISY knows that, okay, yeah, there are going to be situations where you land 4 rails in a row, sure, but you can't do that twice in a row. You can't do that 3 times, and I am going to win the long game if you keep going for these fights. The myztro man is now extending his lead.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially, you know, when you're playing a character like Nyx too, you can snowball super easy. If you go for that Ghost Walk and you mess up, or like, you know, he's relying, like you said, on himself to hit 4 for 4, or, you know, however many is exactly needed, if he throws a Ghost Walk in there too, not only is he dead and off spawn, he can kind of just get chased for 45 seconds for free on a map that's pretty circular like Molten, where he's objectively slower.
Those are some really good rockets from CNZ. RAISY tried to dodge and weave in between them to get an angle with the railgun, but ultimately ended up sacrificing pretty much his entire stack. And didn't get another angle, but CNZ, unfortunately, had far too little to work with. Basically, all CNZ had in terms of weaponry was that rocket. So even if he lands 2 of those really, really impactful long-distance shots, he doesn't have anything to just, you know, push in with. He can't go for a rail, he can't take a medium-distance fight with LG. And so he has to allow RAISYs to stack back up. And you hate to see it, because those are beautiful plays from the Estonian, but he can't follow up on them.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful rocket there from CNZ too, adding on to that wonderful, wonderful defensive play he's been doing. But, you know, defensive play isn't really going to get the job done here. RAISY's kind of realized that we're far enough in the map and he has enough of a lead. He can kind of just afford to run in circles, take it nice and, well, nice and quick, but nice and safe, more importantly, and try to not get caught out in these engagements. And sure to use his projection whenever he does get caught out, because he does have that up too.
The interesting thing is that CNZ is still the one doing most of the damage so far. The gap has been shrinking ever more, and I do expect RAISY to overtake him if he continues playing like this. But so far, CNZ still has around 150 points of damage, more so than his opponent. There we go, RAISY did overtake him, but even though CNZ was, what, 7 frags behind, he still was putting out more damage, and that just shows that CNZ might be landing shots here and there and then stringing together some beautiful damage, but he has just not had the opportunity to turn it into consistent control. RAISY has been the one picking up most of the items and running away with the frags.
Yeah, that's one of the things about the Nyx and Arky matchup, especially as the Nyx, is because you're slower, you do have to play super focused, kind of around traps. And, you know, you can go for some unorthodox traps because you do have that ghost walk and you can bail yourself out of a risky situation. But something like that where CNZ kind of has to overcommit, he has to go through the portal, he has to take this plasma damage, you know, simply because he's out of time and because he, you know, is at such a deficit. He just kind of has to press W, and that's not really something that works, you know, especially against a player like RAISY.
I'm loving the injection use by RAISY as well. Very often, I mean, it hasn't always been successful, but it feels like a majority of the times he actually gets a meaningful advantage out of that injection. Like, you saw it maybe 30 seconds ago, right in the railgun room, right? CNZ pushes in, lands one rail, lands another. He figures, okay, here we go. CNZ is now railable. I can push in and absolutely outstack him. Out comes the injection out of absolutely nowhere. And then CNZ pushes in through the choke point, and he finds that RAISY is significantly more stacked than he was expecting him to be. And so the Hungarian player still rocks away with the frag. Now, this does not bode well, I feel like. I think most people would agree that Molten Falls is one of, if not the strongest map in CNZ's pool. And RAISY quite handsomely managed to take that away from his opponent. Now, I don't have all of the picks and bans available to me, so I don't quite know who picked or banned what in terms of champions moving forward, but little bit worried about CNZ. He had a really strong start, burst of energy, but it was so dependent on landing those rails. 70% rail or 78% railgun. It's ridiculous, but you can't sustain that. And RAISY knew it. So he just rolled with the punches, allowed CNZ to get a few of those beautiful shots in, knowing very well that he was first to the item, that he could take it, and that he could run away with it. And now, Nixia, I think that the biggest thing, literally and figuratively, that stands in CN's way right now is, of course, the clutch, because RAISY has picked the robot in the lobby for Veil of Nat map 2.
Yep. CNZ did pick Molten, and RAISY did pick Veil, so this is RAISY's pick, in addition to it being his character. So that's really kind of not stacking in CNZ's favor here.
Not at all. He is going to need a bit of a miracle. Now, of course, he is playing Galena. Galena is historically a strong pick on this map. I think after, say, the heavies, she is one of the most popular champions that people tend to run on this map. If she can get those totems set up, right? If she can get them, very often you'll see pro players position them around the railgun area of the map because it sees the least amount of traffic, especially around that little jump pad over there. So if he can get 3 totems up and have that portable mega in his pocket, he might be able to counter a lot of that clutch aggression quite well and overcome that innate stack difference that you get when you play a heavy versus a medium champion. However, we know how fast RAISY is. His clutch movement, it's the best in the business. I don't think anyone is going to contest that. So he will always be on top of his opponent, and CNZ is going to have a hell of a hard time trying to counter that.
Yeah, Galena has that ability to restack, has that ability, like you were saying, to kind of negate some of the advantages that heavy champions have, but it's still the assumed X factor of being RAISY's clutch.
Yeah,
it's the sort of thing where it's like, oh yeah, Galena's a really strong pick, and clutch has a giant hitbox, but also it's RAISY, and that's kind of a large part of, I think the way that this map in particular is kind of playing out is because it is RAISY. He has the capability to move around, he has the capability to check those totems, he has the time to basically check those totems because he moves so quickly around the map.
And he can check him with his face as well, like he just demonstrated, because he's got so much stack to work with. He doesn't care about a little totem here and there. He's just going to preserve that momentum and charge until it is done. Now CNZ, not looking too shabby, is going to secure the heavy, and the LG will work out in his favor. And now the American, or rather the Estonian player, what am I saying, has a solid opportunity to get both of the major items, has a stack advantage over clutch, and RAISY does not have his ability at the ready for another half a minute. So CNZ is now looking for his opponent, is going to find him too. Super shotgun is beautiful. RAISY has a small armor to fall back on though. Oh no, if CNZ can't clean him up now, then that would be disastrous. Luckily for him, he is first to pull the trigger. If RAISY would have been able to just back up onto the heavy right there, that would have been devastating for CNZ, but luckily for him, the shotgun pulled him through, and now he's 2 frags in the lead.
Impressive.
More rails being exchanged. RAISY 8 points of health. Will take away the heavy, but still won't be enough to save him. The way that armor works in Quake, of course, is that it only takes away a portion. 2/3 of the damage that you take doesn't act as an extra layer to your health. Meaning that even with a heavy to your name at 9 points of health, you still won't survive much. And RAISY, beautiful shots right there. Barely peeking his head over the ledge and then sticking into CNZ. I feel like if CNZ had landed one railgun in that previous exchange, he would be in a solid position now. But RAISY got 2 unreturned, 3 rails in. And that is what's allowed him to exert this much presence on the map, to get a frag, and to now take away an item as well. Now this heavy is going to be important. Good read. The timing on that was perfect. And CNZ, no! He's a moment too soon, but what? He still turns it around, mistimes the heavy, gets knocked off the pillar, and then still finds his mark.
That's insane.
This is good.
Yeah. With a trigger finger like that, you know, that's really something that is horrifying. You know, if you're RAISY, you know, that being able to just get hit by that sometimes is kind of part of the game at this level, I feel like, you know. Like, there's that expectation that your opponent is going to hit, you know, that 60% rail, that 35-40% LG. But sometimes stuff like that just happens, and it's truly incredible to watch, you know. CNZ actually missing the rocket pick up there. Not sure if that's going to come into play here, especially since he's playing on the lower ground. But he is going to secure that mega health right there, along with the shard, and it is going to be a mutual frag. Spawn isn't really going to go in either player's favor just yet. No major items up, and the weapons will be split.
The previous fight really illustrates how Galena can be a pretty decent counter to a good clutch, right? Because you see RAISY taking the fight, very confident, figuring that, okay, even if he picks up Mega right now, which he will, I've got my shield, I've got the stack, I know that I should still be able to win that fight. But then CNZ still whips out that extra totem, and suddenly you see RAISY's confidence be like, oh, now there's a totem in play as well, that's more health that I have to get rid of. And then it ended up being a trade, but now the momentum is really building in favor of the myztro player. And it will be RAISY. What was that? I feel like I've blinked and all of a sudden RAISY got himself 4 frags and took the lead over CNZ. These rails are really what's helping RAISY so much right now. 61% railgun. Love to see it.
It's truly, it's really incredible. You know, incredible to see, you know, shots like that come through again and again consistently. That 60% that you said, you know, only going up with these hits. And CNZ, he doesn't really know what to do. He's got to find a way back into this game. But obviously playing at a disadvantage against the clutch isn't super fun. And especially not RAISY's clutch where... Okay.
Yep, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. Wonderful, though.
CNZ is playing well, but I feel like even though it's looking solid, his LG is not as good as it could be. If we look at the statistics, Nixia, RAISY is having a higher LG accuracy than CNZ. Even though CNZ is aiming at Clutch, who is by far the easiest champion to hit in the entire game.
I think it's the sort of thing where it's definitely CNZ's game to win, but it's also his game to lose. You know, he has to make sure that he's making the right decisions. He has to make sure that he's hitting the right shots. He has to make sure that he's putting himself in a position to get these shots and then to punish RAISY after it. He's got to take it slow. He's got to remember to do it all right and, you know, not check every box, you know, because otherwise RAISY will just kind of crazy. You know, it's the X factor of Quake at this level where it's just, you know, has the capability to just absolutely go insane. That rail that we're talking about, that ability to just kind of appear on you out of nowhere, and CNZ has to be perpetually ready for that, which is, you know, a serious challenge for any player. But if there's anybody up to the challenge, it's definitely CNZ.
I mean, he's keeping this a tight game, 6 minutes in, against RAISY playing Clutch on Veil. That's an achievement on its own already.
Also, he has control of the heavy side of the map with the heavies coming up, and also their totem's about to be up too in just about 15 seconds, meaning that if RAISY doesn't actually go check it out and he's able to, you know, secure this heavy, he could be looking at some serious stack advantage, even though he's playing, you know, a medium.
CNZ CNZ down to around 20 points of health. Totem is going to come out and help him, and those rails help even more.
That is
Clutch rails. We saw the same thing on Molten. Really what kept him in the game, and now RAISY. Is this an overextension from the Hungarian? Oh, 4 points of health. CNZ, he wants to rush, he wants to be aggressive right now. Can he find RAISY? Can he get a weapon? Can he do anything right now? Oh, the LG is good! And he gets another frag.
good stuff from CNZ. Up 1 frag, really what you want to see right now. And with both the items here in a perfect position, RAISY doesn't have very far to go. And that will be another kill, 8 to 10. 3 minutes left. This is definitely doable for CNZ. Locking this out is very possible, and something we might see if he's able to, you know, grab this next cycle of items and, you know, maybe get another frag or 2 while you're at it.
This is good for Dragonborn player, because he knows that RAISY doesn't have the shield yet. RAISY doesn't have rockets, doesn't have LG, and oh no, still it somehow goes wrong. I think CNZ perhaps a little bit too careless pushing through the teleporter right there. He ate a big bad rocket on the exit. Otherwise, he absolutely would have won that fight if he didn't take that initial damage. Now RAISY still doesn't have rockets to work with. Oh, they both cross each other through the teleporter. That could have been a risky telefrag for either one of these players, but it will be CNZ, and that's unfortunate for RAISY. Because CNZ actually took away his shield right there. RAISY popping it just before he died. And that's not the kind of mistake that you see RAISY make all that often. Usually he's very reserved when it comes to the shield. But now he basically gave it up for free. Got almost nothing out of it.
Super strong play from CNZ with just under 90 seconds on the clock. It kind of starts to fall on RAISY. RAISY has to make sure he's able to close it out now and kind of take the steps to shut CNZ down. You know, that's going to be a really good first one as RAISY is looking to close this out. Major is going to go in favor of CNZ. 2 rails. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
That rocket jump onto the Mega by CNZ. What in the world was that? So risky, so calculated, and it pays off in the end. And he's still showing his face. He's down to 20 points of health, and he's railing the monster that is Clutch time and time again. Can he find the kill shot? Oh, RAISY not landing, not connecting with these vital hits, and with 40 seconds left to go, all the pressure is on the myztro player. Will find one, but has to give up heavy. He's kind of missing too many shots, I feel like, RAISY. Uncharacteristically so, but he does get the frag. Half a minute left to go. Can he find his opponent? Oh. Can he pushes, closes the gap? It's LG, but the rail! Point blank rail at 5 points of health. CNZ, how does he manage? How does he do it? 10 seconds to go. RAISY, can he get the spawn? Can
RAISY's
he
gone the
find
long
his
way.
opponent? He reads it. He hears him.
Knows where to go. CNZ is also...
You lose.
Wow.
That was insane.
I think that's the best match that we've seen so far today. CNZ somehow making a stand, and a tremendous one at that, against RAISY's Clutch. How many players can say that they have beaten RAISY playing Clutch at the highest level in a tournament like this? Not that many, but CNZ, he rises up to the challenge, makes it happen, and he is going to bring this into a final map, the decider. First time today that we're actually seeing a best of 3 go till the final map, the decider, at least on stream that is. And CNZ, impressive. He is impressing me right now, and I think that kind of was to be expected if we look at their previous match, right? We previously discussed it as we were loading into the map. RAISY beat him previous time they faced off, which was during the last stage of the Quake Pro League, and then RAISY won 3-0, but 2 of those matches came down to just 1 point of difference, meaning that it really could have gone either way, and that's again what we're seeing today. This is so close, and CNZ now on map 2 making good on it. The first map, very convincing win by RAISY, but this time CNZ, he is making his mark. He wants to advance in this tournament.
So our third map is going to be that Ruins of Sarnath, the final settling ground for this series. RAISY on the Ranger and CNZ on the Eisen. Super wonderful play from both players so far, and I really can't wait to see how this plays. I'm not really sure who to give the edge. CNZ playing absolutely incredible, but RAISY, you know, is absolutely insane. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw RAISY take down Scalebearer on this map, playing a Ranger as well, right? We've seen what he can do with that orb on the map that is Ruins. He uses it extremely creatively, and I do think that he has the better champion pick out of the two. Because there's just so much that you can do with that orb around the center area of the map, and not just there. You can obviously use it very aggressively to apply damage. You can use it defensively to escape, but it's also such a powerful movement tool as well. You can so easily orb up basically straight onto Mega, jump into the heavy room, take heavy, teleport, and get both of the items. There's a lot of things that you can do around those vertical layers around the center area of the map that can really give you a leg up over your opponent. So I would favor RAISY in terms of map pick, or champion pick rather, but of course, Eisen isn't bad to work with at all. Can give you a lot of information, very useful to divide your opponent's attention, and also just to lock down certain items or teleport or exit. So this should be an interesting map.
Yeah, you know, starting out on RAISY's POV here, taking a rail does not have the, wait, hold on, no. I got the overlays mixed up, sorry. Starting out on CNZ's POV that we all think is RAISY, I'm gonna switch it, so now we're actually on RAISY. Sorry about that. But now, yeah, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry, y'all.
No worries. Both of the items were taken at pretty much the exact same time. Neither player willing to delay or play around when it comes to that. Now we are seeing a bit more of a delay. Heavy first, Mega shortly afterwards, taken by CNZ. And that is something that could favor RAISY more, right? Because Heavy is going to spawn first. And who can make his way up from Heavy to Mega faster? RAISY. Because he's got that orb, just as we described earlier. Whereas CNZ doesn't have that kind of ability to work with. Good push from RAISY. CNZ kind of caught out in a bad spot. The rockets weren't powerful enough to carry him through that engagement. Now RAISY had to burn his orb in that engagement, so he wasn't able to quickly secure both of the items, meaning that CNZ was able to stabilize quite nicely.
Well, wonderful play from both players so far. RAISY with the edge so far here, especially in the positioning. He's up on the high ground here. He's nice and central and is able to keep track of his opponents, figure out exactly where, you know, CNZ is and what he's trying to do. And as a result, you know, forcing CNZ to play around the edge of the map.
This is not looking good for CNZ after what just happened. RAISY so deliberate on the item denial, or rather the item delay as well, right? He could have picked up Mega 5 seconds sooner than that, but he knew that this is the start of his rotation. This is where he asserts full control and runs with it. So instead of picking them up shortly after one another, which would put pressure on himself to quickly go between one and the other, he allowed himself a generous amount of time to comfortably run around the map, not just having to beeline it onto that next major item, but instead maybe peruse some of those side areas of the map, see if he can catch a glimpse of CNZ, do some damage here and there before making a play for the item. He wants to be able to hunt, and by delaying and offsetting the respawn timers, he is giving himself the opportunity to do just that.
Oh, absolutely wonderful play, especially in regards to that item control, and super strong from RAISY. You know, making sure to not slip up, not make any mistakes, and not really offer CNZ, you know, a path back into the map and into the series. You know, he's like, okay, yeah, like I lost last map, but that's not how they usually go. You know, I'm gonna put my foot down and I'm gonna hit these rails. I'm gonna deny these items. There's only, you know, Vale has a lot of armor, and you know, this map doesn't. There's really only 2 shards here as opposed to the 4 currently available on Vale of FNAF. So, you know, as RAISY, you know, you're able to take that time, you're able to cut those off and force CNZ to basically play slow and rely on an X factor that is never really something you want to do. Those X factors can be insane, but something like that is kind of being what you have to do is not necessarily what you want to rely on.
Very good play by CNZ. Looking at how this has been going, I think that CNZ, his way back into this, is going to be centered primarily around the railgun. If he takes fights at close range, that orb rocket combo is likely to destroy him. If he takes fights at mid-range, I feel like RAISY's LG has been more consistent.
Stopwatch.
It's the long range, where the rail comes into play, that has been favoring CNZ the most. That's where he's been shining throughout these two previous maps. And I think that that is how he should approach this. Really try to soften RAISY up with the railgun, and then make a move for the frag. Unfortunately, though, rail hasn't really been landing all that much, just 20% accuracy for CNZ. So hopefully he can get into the groove with that weapon once more and make something beautiful happen.
Impressive.
There we go, the good rails. CNZ making good on the promise. Oh no! The shotgun! The shotgun! Couldn't make it happen. He came so close. But then RAISY survives.
5-minute warning.
RAISY was at what, 15 points of health? And then after the shotgun he was at 10. It could have been so different. Regardless, CNZ recovers quite nicely, gets a quick refrag, and still just keeping it to a 1 frag game. And he should have positioning on the heavy as well. I don't think he'll be able to make it onto Mega fast enough, especially not with RAISY trying to lock down the entrance into the room. So CMZ is going to have to give that one up, but he's really not looking too shabby right now. Nope. CNZ. Looks like he saw a ghost for a second. He just stared RAISY down for a fraction of a moment. Turned away and then he was like, wait a minute, was that RAISY? Looks right back, but at that point already takes a rail in the back. 3 damage for RAISY. There we go, the rail. It's working in CNZ's favor.
Impressive.
And another one, just as I called it. This is how CNZ can be victorious in this series. The railgun, the pressure. That's how he has to play this. 24 health for RAISY. Beautiful rocket. I really don't think the myztro man was expecting that to hurt the way it did. And now CNZ. Oh. I like what he was going for right there, but the execution just wasn't what it should have been. He caught RAISY by surprise with that rocket. And then rocket jumped up after to get the frag. Really good play, but he just couldn't find the damage. And then RAISY looped right back around, stole the heavy, and is now in much better shape than he should have been. This should have absolutely been for free for CNZ.
Impressive.
RAISY is playing a risky game right now. I think he's more comfortable than he otherwise would have been because he has that orb. That's why he's just sitting on Mega like that, right at the edge of the platform, knowing that he can just drop down as soon as CNZ's shown his face. So he's really just hoping to get a freebie, it seems like. Just setting up, hoping that CNZ might take a longer route, give him more of an opportunity to set up for the item, and then maybe run away with it. All of a sudden, catch a break, work his way back into it, and if he gets caught out, well, he's got that orb, and he's always putting himself in a position where he's keeping those escape routes open. So clever plays from RAISY, slowly getting back to that base stack of 100-100. CNZ so far has been doing a really good job at culling RAISY's stack, making it very difficult for him to just get comfortable. Let's see if CNZ can find the frag, because with 2 minutes left, like this is an anxious phase of the game, I feel like. Because on the one hand, CNZ is in full control of everything, but on the other, he knows just as well as I do that the longer this goes on, without him being able to get that frag, without him being able to really stick it to RAISY, that's the more opportunities that he's giving RAISY to make magic happen, to orb out of nowhere, right into the rocket, and just completely turn it around. One more rail like that, and RAISY will be in a position to take away the Mega now. So CNZ is got to find an opportunity. This is great from RAISY. Oh my god, that's such a clever play from myztro. That was like, we should rewind and just break that down. RAISY's positioning, sublime. He was listening out for the jump pad. He knew that CNZ was taking away the heavy, but he didn't move. He didn't try to go for any sort of damage. He just sat there and waited. And then the moment, after a few seconds, that he realizes that CNZ isn't going up the bounce pad, he just goes the other way. And he knows that CNZ is going to come through the eyeball room, is going to jump up and try and run onto Mega through the stairs. And so RAISY just preemptively fires a few good rockets and then uses the orb to finish it off. That was 200 IQ from RAISY. And I don't think that with half a minute left to go, CNZ will be able to bring this one back. He nearly had it, Nixia. He nearly did. The RAISY, being RAISY, will take it home 2-1.
Expanding that lead, you know, setting it up. That was a wonderful map from RAISY. You know, wonderful series from CNZ2. But RAISY is going to advance 2-1 to face the winner of Base and Nostra. We're gonna have that up next. We actually also have the picks